Palestinians.
Hoda, for the time being, many thanks. Hoda Abdelhamid there and Harry Fawcett, our correspondents, covering the next stage of the visit there of the President of the United States, Air Force One there on the ground in Tel Aviv as the US President continues with this trip. Of course, after this, he will have various meetings in Israel. He will meet with Palestinian leaders. He also goes on, he wraps up his trip by going to the G7 in Sicily. In between Sicily and Israel and Palestine, he will meet the Pope at the Vatican, Air Force One, on the ground there at Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. Let's talk as well to Beverly Milton Edwards. Beverly's keeping us company here in Doha. She's with the Brookings Center here in Doha. The speech in Riyadh was rich in big language. I mean, arguably he can't or he won't want to offer specifics because in a way that's kind of what good diplomacy is about. You don't offer specifics. You just do this thing where you nudge people towards each other and hope something gels in the middle. His speechwriters, by and large, got it right yesterday. What do they have to put in the speeches today and tomorrow?
Well, it's all about the mood music now, so we've moved from the great overture towards the Islamic world, and this notion that somehow he's on a pilgrimage almost in the holy lands, not just of Islam, but now we're moving on to Jerusalem, the center of the three monotheistic faiths of Christianity, of Judaism, and as well of Islam. But of course, Islam here in terms of Jerusalem will be sidelined. The focus will be on Holy Sepulchre, and also on the Western Wall with a visit there that is being touted as a private visit. So I think that the symphony coming together there in terms of the speechwriters and the symbolism is that he's again going to try and urge people to come together in the spirit of peace and to progress things forward between two peoples that, quite frankly, are divided by a very, very bitter and atavistic war.
But taking those aspects of what the speech must do, or drilling down for a little bit into the boxes that the speech must tick. Barack Obama gave speeches about peace. It was followed by war. It was followed by conflict. George W. Bush, going back before him, gave speeches about peace. It was followed by war. It was followed by conflict. What makes this one different?
Well, I don't think in the long term or the medium term we are going to see that it's actually very different. So, okay, there's some change in terms of the mood music, but he's still not really tackling the obstacles. And the obstacles are Jerusalem, security, the right of return for refugees, illegal settlements. And there need to at least be some signals in the speeches that Trump makes, both to the Israelis and to the Palestinians, that he understands that this is the real work that will need to be done for people to come together again around the negotiating table.
When he said in Washington to Netanyahu, when Netanyahu was in the Oval Office, not the Oval Office, pardon me, the White House, and they were saying, and Trump said something like, look, I don't care if it's a one-state or a two-state or you guys work it out. Is that possibly actually a really clever thing to say? Because what you're saying is, here's a blank sheet of paper, I will push, I will do my best, but you guys do it.
I think it's questionable that it's a clever move. Yes, it's right to say that ambiguity is useful in terms of the starting points of discussion and in terms of trust building to signal in the right way for people to come together. But, you know, the reality is that Israel and the Palestinians will not make peace unless there's active mediation by the international community. And of course, at the heart of the international community lies the role that the United States of America must play, particularly in terms of leveraging Israel and pressuring Israel and encouraging Israel to make the right steps for peace that the whole of the region and the rest of the world wants.
Active mediation, that would not go down well with the Israelis, however, though, would it?
No, but at least the language around mediation will be a form of language, if it's coming from Trump, if it's coming from Trump's ambassador to Israel, if it's coming from his advisors and supporters on the peace process, will be language that they're used to, and at least they feel that it can be something that they can negotiate over.
What are the points of leverage, as far as the Israelis are concerned, that they would be prepared to accept?
I think that Israel, first and foremost, will always want security assurances. And that's where it's slightly problematic. Now, Israel feels far more assured that America can play its part in the regional picture, but whether the Palestinians themselves are capable of doing enough to provide those security guarantees